What's up, everyone? Welcome to The Flip Side, a Get Your Teach On podcast where we break down, share, and challenge different hot topics in education. This is an incredible special episode because we are live in New York. It's Saturday night, and we are live on the Labelist the Musical stage off Broadway in New York City. This is an incredible episode you do not want to miss. This is the first part of a two-part episode. We have Drew and Lea Lachey joining us, talking about all about Labelist the Musical, and then part 2 next week, we're going to have the cast live with us here on stage. So let's dive into this episode of The Flip Side. Here we go.
Welcome back, Your Teach On, to another episode of Flipside the podcast. We are so excited to be here.
Let's go.
They don't know this. I tell them this all the time. They're my new besties, especially Lea and I. Really, Drew and Wade. It's more of a connection there.
Yeah, you guys should like switch seats probably. Because it's like the three of us and the two of them.
Everybody likes Lea better than they like me. They just hang out with me just to get to her. That's pretty much the way our lives have worked.
As long as you're aware of that.
I've accepted it at this point.
So before we dive in, I want you guys to introduce yourself. Obviously, I'm sure many of our listeners know who you guys are, but I want you just to introduce yourself, your background, all the things about Drew and Lea.
Well, I'm Lea Lachey. I am the co-creator of Labelist the Musical. I'm a professional choreographer. I danced professionally for many, many years with, a group called 98 Degrees. I was out on the road with them for a long time.
Among other places.
Super passionate about what I'm doing right now. I also taught in the public school system for about 10 years and ran the musical theater program at the Performing Arts School in Cincinnati, where I graduated from. So,
So I'm Drew Lachey, and I'm the guy that she chose to marry. I've been performing and doing this since I was 21, so 5 years. No, it's a long time.
Really made some so young. Gains in 5 years.
The premature grave there for a 26-year-old. So it's been a part of who I am for such a long time. But I don't really feel like I found myself as a person until we did start our nonprofit Lachey Arts and start teaching and start really kind of figuring out who we were as people and what we had to offer. And then once Labelist came along, it kind of opened up Pandora's box and of this whole amazing journey for the last 7 years. So
yeah. So why Labelist? The name, the show.
Well, the show actually came out of a exercise that we were doing in a theater class, and it was on empathy. And we had the students write down how they were not feeling seen or how they felt like they were being discriminated against. And we took all of these pieces of paper home that night, laid them out on the kitchen counter, and we were shocked by what they said. We cried. And it was hard to imagine that some of the things that were being said were actually going on. I kept thinking what? Like your uncle is telling, this young girl that she can't be anything? I was like, you keep thinking it's not 1950, And you're like, this is actually happening in people's households. So with the permission of those students, that's where Labelists started to be born.
Yeah, Lea had the idea of as opposed to just it being an acting exercise where it's like, all right, well, you're going to draw names from a hat and you're going to put yourself in somebody else's shoes. That was basically what it's going to be. It's basically a class in empathy and building a character and figuring out how a character would go into this. And it became this lesson in humanity to a point where we felt like we had to give this platform and a voice to people who felt like they didn't have a voice. People that were dealing with bullying or mental health or struggling to find a way to come out to their friends and family. And these were things that we were like, come on, this was a 2018. We were like, come on, you can't really be still dealing with this stuff. And we were heartbroken that kids that we were teaching on a daily basis, we didn't know what was going on in their lives. We didn't, feel like we had and to a certain degree, been there enough for them. Yeah. Once you find out, oh, this kid's been suffering in silence, and you're like, why didn't I see that? Like, how did I miss this? I see them every single day. How did I miss this? But then this show came along, and it was the 40 kids in the class, and then became 40 kids in the orchestra with them, and then another 60 kids that were in a choir that supported it. So this show started, you guys saw, was 16 people. It started off with 140 kids, and it just was really this powerful moment that we were very, very honored to, just be a part of, let alone, have a hand in creating.
Yeah. So, do y'all want to ask anything? I've got questions for.
Keep
Dennis.
it going. You got it.
Okay. Oh, good. Okay, just tap my leg. I know that tap very well. But you guys could have easily, I don't want to say easily, but you could have chosen to write a full script.
Yeah.
That you wanted, to bring on people to act these parts.
Yeah.
What's the thought? What's the reasoning behind having the actors and the characters be their own true stories?
Well, because it's authentic and honest and true. And so once we put that on the stage, right, that first time, and they were their stories, I noticed right away, I said, wow, I've never seen an audience react like this. They just they do what you guys did.
Yeah,
Right?
I was literally about to say that, the audience
I
reaction.
sit up there and watch every night, and there's just a lean in that happens. And I think that when there's true connection like that with art, right, that's the best stuff right there.
And I think when it's acting, it's very easy to dismiss it.
Mm-hmm.
You can't, when Kiwi comes forward and Kiwi tells you their story of when they came here from Mexico and how they took a job as a cleaning person to pay for their way through school and do all this stuff. If that was just Kiwi acting, people be like, oh, that was a good story.
Yeah.
This is Kiwi's actual story. There is no denying the truth. There is no denying whether it happened or not. There is no denying that those feelings were there because it is fact. It just happened. And so, once it becomes a script or they just become actors, it becomes entertainment. It becomes you can dismiss it. And that is something that we never wanted to have happen.
Yeah. And something that I noticed as an audience member, and musical theater is my thing, so I was in my element. But what's different is in a traditional musical or things like that, at the end of a song, the applause, it's almost expected. It's here it is.
Yeah.
The audience, and this was tonight we had our teachers' night out, so we had hundreds of teachers, Magic Squad from the Gary Teach-On team. If you didn't see it on social media, make sure you check it out. In the audience, it's almost like you're so captivated in the story that someone has to start the applause. Like someone, it's over, but you're so still emotionally invested in the story that the applause doesn't start naturally right away. And I started picking up on it story after story that I'm like, I know the song's over, the music stopped, but we're supposed to, correct. Yeah,
you're in the moment, right? You're in the moment, so you're feeling it. And I do say that to the cast a lot, 'cause there are some moments, right, that are just they take your breath away. Heartbeat.
Amen. Oh, we just went to church. Yes.
Amen, Tracy Swain. But it's supposed to be that. You're supposed to sit in that. And I always say when we're in the rehearsal process, do not be alarmed if there is silence. There is supposed to be silence there because the audience should sit and think about that, right? And that's where you're going to make that change. So I love those moments.
Me too. Oh, they were my favorite of the show.
And I'm always watching the show. I'm like creepy big brother, just like always watching. But I've seen the show literally hundreds of times. Wrote a bunch of the songs, and I still cry like a baby on half the songs, just because I know the stories. I know what's happening. I know how these issues have affected these people's lives, and the fact that they are so brave and so vulnerable, and the fact that they are willing to put themselves out there and expose themselves to help maybe one person.
Yeah.
That's what we say. It doesn't matter what happens in the show because there's one person in the audience that needs to hear what you're going to say tonight. And that is that moment that they are willing to put themselves out there for. And I just sit in the back and I just cry like a 3-year-old
That
who
is
got their
true.
cookie taken away.
That's happening.
It is a powerful moment for us too. And I'm like, I'm so engrossed in the moment, and I've wrote it and helped direct it.
But I think that just goes to show it's so powerful, I think, because you two have served as the educators. You are not just showing up as director, writing the songs, choreographer. You are showing up as true teachers to this cast that has now become your students. They've now become your family. And I've been following the cast on social media, on all things Labelist. If you're not following Labelist, the musical, on social media, make sure you do. And just the way you pour into them as humans, first, as Hope always says, humans first and then educators second. You have taken that to the stage, which is not traditional in a process. You're in an audition. You hope to get it. You're there to do a job.
God, I hope I get it.
Literally.
I hope I get it.
5, 6, 7. Okay, but that's unique. So talk a little bit about that and kind of the relationship with the cast that transfers to the classroom.
I mean, I think for me, my background, unfortunately, I was trained, and it was like, you're going to do this and you're going to feel this way and this is a job. And I think that when it got flipped for me and I was teaching, I really wanted to be more supportive. I believe that you can get things out of students and out of artists by being kind. You can still, be straightforward and direct. And this is what we need to get this done. But at the same time, we can be loving and we can be supportive. And I think that, that's a family, right? That's how we raise our kids.
Yeah, I think one thing that we've always tried to do, we started teaching in 2012?
Yeah.
2012, is that we were always tried to be very clear about what our expectations were. Whether the expectation was, you're going to hit the double turn on this one or whatever. But our core expectation was that you were going to treat each other with decency. Yes. And you are going to come in, you're going to treat us with respect, you're going to treat each other with respect, and you're going to treat yourself with respect. And as long as you started that and you started the rehearsal with that and the class with that, you were in good shape because everybody will be looking out for everybody else. And it became a supportive environment that almost took on a family kind of vibe. And, every family is a little dysfunctional,
Always.
especially a family full of theater kids.
That's Chris.
But it became a group, some of which are still in the family and still on this stage. Micah, we've been working with Micah since Micah was 15 years old, 14 years old.
Wow.
Abby was one of our first students that ever came to our camp at 14 years old, and now she's sitting here singing her heart out about body image and self-worth. There's half the cast has been part of our lives for over a decade now, which is pretty special to us.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say, I've spent some time with you guys. This is the first time, obviously, that I've met the cast, but I think that the thing that stood out to me the most, that was obvious instantly in the way that you were interacting with them, is it is so clear that you believe in them.
Oh yeah,
that you believe in them, and believing in them doesn't mean that they're not gonna fall and they're not gonna have their, but also that you're gonna catch them when they fall and at the very least pick them back up again.
Yes.
And one of my questions was gonna be, and it's similar to Chris's, but how I hope you guys give yourself credit for what you've created. I really hope that you do, because not only is it changing lives, but not just anybody could do that. There's a lot of people who could say, oh, I want to have this message and I'm going to get this cast, I'm going to do. But what you guys have created and just hearing the journey of it is not just an overnight, let me just turn the wrist. There's so many pieces of that. But, I was going to ask you how were you able to bring this to the stage? Because I think it's one of a kind. It's something that's never been done before. It's so special, but that's because it's what we do as teachers every day. And it's that we believe in our kids and who they say they want to be and what they say they want to become. We're going to be there to support them at all costs.
Sorry, you just said something that kind of hit me. So we used to sit in a circle at the beginning of like every, cast that came together just to kind of have a moment to get to know each other. And I would always ask, all right, what do you want to get out of this? And we go around the circle and everybody would say what they want to get out of it. And then the next question I would ask is, all right, what are you willing to give to it? Because it's very easy to go into any situation and be like, this is what I want to get out of it. This is what I want to get out of it. But nobody ever thinks about what you're willing to give of yourself to make that happen and also to support the other people that are in this circle. And the thing that I always said was, what I want to get out of it is for them to have this moment. because for them to have this opportunity, for this cast to be here on an off-Broadway stage, living out their dreams, but also being able to be authentically who they are, whether it's, whether you want to paint your nails black or whether you want to shave your head or whether you want to wear a skirt or not wear a skirt or wear boots or sing this song or yes, the answer is yes. And we so for us, we constantly say that this show is only possible because of the cast, and they are the ones that are sharing their story, that are putting themselves out there, and it would not be possible without their vulnerability. And it's also her. I'll sit here and take all the credit, but it's not me. It's her. She steers the ship. It was her big dream. It was her concept to create this show. She is the mother hen. She's more like a mama bear because she will tear somebody's face off.
Yes, I will.
So
as teachers, we get that.
Yeah.
I will get you.
Yeah. So it's I just try and do my part.
Everything you said, same.
I had to give you your moment on the mic,
Yeah, she had to give you the mic for you to say that.
She's not much of a mother hen, though, so don't. Yeah.
No, truly. It's honestly a show that I hope that every human at some point gets the chance to see, because I think it's just incredibly powerful what you guys have created, what you've done. And I think it's so empowering for me as an educator, because it also shows me what's possible when, I see my students for who they are. And when I see the teachers next door to me and across the hall that I might have some feelings about. But one thing that I always really challenge, and I'm not great at this and I try to be better, but I can't make a judgment on somebody until I get to know their story.
Yeah.
And that takes time and that takes sacrifice to a certain degree. But what you guys are doing is amplifying the stories of so many. And that is just such a powerful thing that we need so much more of in this time, in this space, in this world that we live in. So thank you guys for doing that.
Well,
No, thank you. And I one other thing that kind of Labelist has always been very much, people take it as, all right, I'm not going to label other people that I see in the world. I'm not going to label this person that is a different color than me or a different gender or X, Y, Z, whatever the difference is. But Labelist is also about how we see ourselves. We all go through lives and we say, I am this and I am not that. I am X, but I'm not Y. I am red, but I'm not blue. What? And it's not about that. It's about also being able to allow yourself to be more than what you think you are. So it's, yes, take the labels off when you look around, but also when you look in the mirror, take them off. Get to see yourself for who you truly are. Because as educators, as parents, as human beings, we are much better when we are being true to ourselves and taking care of ourselves first. It puts us in a position where we can support other people and help them to become their best selves. So, and teachers, it's a tough grind. It's a tough grind. You're taking on the weight of 30 kids per class, and that one kid whose story at home, and you need to help that person, but that person also takes energy away from the other 29. So it's this balance that educators don't get enough credit for trying to strike, and the weight that you take home at the end of the day is something that you got to take care of. Number one first. That's a long way of saying take care of yourself.
Yeah. On that note, my last question actually ties exactly what you just said. For Lea, what advice would you have for teachers? They're driving to work right now, maybe listening, maybe they had a hard week or hard day. As they're showing up for their students and pouring into them constantly every day, what advice would you have for them to look in the mirror and see themselves?
Well, I think that we have to take more time for ourselves, right? I think that a lot of times we're as teachers giving and giving and giving. And so I do think, like what Drew said, is we've got to take care of ourselves first, right? You got to take those moments. But I also think for me, it's just being calm and listening. I learned so much from those students in those first years, just listening. Because I think a lot of times you come in that leadership role, right? Being, I'm going to lead and I'm going to tell you what to do and I'm going to tell you where to go. And you have to listen, because you do not know what those students, what they're going through, right? What those lives are like at home, what they're going through. And so I ultimately for the entire world right now, and going off of everybody should see the show because I do think that it opens your heart, right? I just want people to be a little bit more kind to each other and open their hearts, right? Look each other in the eyes, say hello, hold a door open for someone. It's just simple things. Simple things.
I love that. Now, you talked about the show and coming to see the show. So I do want to let everyone know, let them know if they're in the New York area or if they're traveling to New York in the next few weeks or so.
Yes.
Let them know information where they can find tickets for the show, how long it's running, things like that here in New York.
So everything is at labellessmusical.com. The show is running from now until March 30th at Theater Row. Get your tickets.
And if you can't make it to New York, we are also on Spotify and Apple Music and most of the streaming services. We have the cast album out there. So, there's one song that was just put into the show for this run that is not yet on the album. But you can hear,
Probably my favorite song, Drew. I don't know. What song is it?
It's Cheap Seats.
Oh,
we love that one.
My girl Diana. I knew it.
It'll be up soon. It'll be up soon. We already recorded the vocals for it. We just gotta do the post-production. It'll be up
Diana.
soon. You go, Diana.
I'm now president of our fan club. I already started the Instagram, all the things. But seriously, give it up one more time for Drew and Lea, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much. One, for just inviting us into your space and letting us hear your story. I don't know if your listeners know, but they allowed Get Your Teach On to have the entire theater tonight and have teachers here. And that is key because every performance is so important. And just to pour into teachers that are then now going to take this message and bring it back is just incredible. So thank you guys so much for having us.
Thank you. And thank you guys for what you're doing to continue to nurture this group of people that need the support more than any other group, especially now with some of the hurdles that are facing educators right now. But just I want everybody to know that they have our love and our support, and we still talk about the teachers that influenced our lives and encouraged us to chase our dreams. One of them is the vocal director of this show. She is still a part of our lives 30 years later.
Wow.
Lori Wyatt, she was my voice teacher. She was Leah's voice teacher, and she is still the vocal director of this show. So you never know how long those relationships that you forge now are going to last. So...
Well, y'all been married or together for how long? So that relationship's been...
It'll be 25 years
married,
this October.
Yeah.
Married.
And
high school.
Together since 1992.
Wow.
I was 2 years old. That was a good year. I was two.
Dear God.
There you
Oh
go.
my God.
Give it up one more time for Drew and Lea, everybody.
Thank you.
Now, this is just the beginning of incredible things. This is not the last time you'll see Drew and Lea with Get Your Teach On, so more coming on that soon. Make sure you check out labellessmusical.com. And next week, actually, we're going to have part 2 of this podcast episode with the cast joining us right here on stage.
Oh, look
Sharing
out.
some behind the scenes. We cannot wait for it, so make sure you tune in next week. But until then, you have to help us out. We end it with Catch You On, and we all say the flip side. Okay, here we go.
Okay, here we go.
Audience 2, here we go. Thank you guys for watching. Until next time, we'll catch you on the flip side. Bye, everyone. See you next week.
Thank you.
Give it up for Drew and Lea.